We've got significant news for American manufacturing, and we're taking a deeper dive because this truly is a game changer. Congress has recently passed the One Beautiful Bill Act, and it's designed to powerfully boost domestic investment, production, and innovation. Joining us today to unpack the bill is Kasey Pittman, Managing Director of Tax Policy at Bekaert, and she's here to share some insights on what this means for manufacturers. So Kasey, welcome to IndustrialSage Headlines.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
Let's jump right into it. So what's in this bill, and what does it mean for manufacturers?
There are a ton of provisions in this bill, but just to cover really quickly a few things that matter for manufacturers, I want to talk about the trio of what we sometimes call orphan TCJA business provisions, and then just briefly touch on the potential for expensing for new factories and the advanced manufacturing investment credit. So jumping into the trio, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act had three provisions where we saw scheduled changes in their treatment in 2022, 2023. And the first one is bonus depreciation. So under TCJA, we were able to take 100% expensing for assets, machinery, and equipment that we purchased, 100% expensing the year that we purchased them. That ended in 2023. We began to see a phase down. So 2023 was 80%, 2024 was 60%, and we were continuing on this path of a 20% reduction until we got to 0%. So 2025 right now, we're in 40%. The new law changes that. It brings back on a permanent basis immediate expensing of qualifying assets, and a lot of that machinery and equipment that is really expensive, that manufacturers are looking to purchase, will be able to be written off in the year that it is placed into service, which provides additional cash flow, right, for additional investment back into the business or for more machinery or more employees or whatever your business plan calls for. So that's a really important provision. The second one I want to talk about is research and experimental expenditures, or R&E. R&E expenditures were currently deductible up through 2021. In 2022, we saw a change, and those were scheduled to become capitalizable and amortizable. So if you had a domestic R&E expenditure, you had to capitalize it, put it on your books, and deduct it over 5 years, amortize it over 5 years. For foreign, that was 15 years. And that was a massive change and a big hindrance to continued investment in those innovative R&E expenditures. This bill reverses that also. So for 2025 and going forward, domestic only, domestic R&E expenditures are currently deductible again. At the end of the day, this just results in additional cash flow for the business to continue to invest in property, employees, innovation, whatever your business plan calls for. So that's really important. Additionally, for those kind of lost years, 2022 through 2024, taxpayers have some options. If you're a large taxpayer, you can continue to amortize them over their life, or you can deduct them over 1 or 2 years. And if you're a small taxpayer, 31 million in gross receipts or less nominally, you're able to actually go back and amend your old tax returns to get that cash flow currently. So big change, really taxpayer advantageous, particularly for the innovative side of manufacturing. The third one that I want to talk about is the business interest limitation. So Tax Cuts and Jobs Act brought about this new business interest limitation, and essentially you're able to deduct 30% of your adjusted taxable income, we call ATI. 30% of that number, you're able to deduct that in business interest expense. Well, how we calculate ATI went from EBITDA to EBIT, which is a more restrictive calculation, in 2022. Just at the time we saw interest rates rising as the Fed was increasing rates to try to combat inflation. And so this really hurt a lot of businesses. We have now switched back from EBIT to the more generous EBITDA. And so that is a really beneficial provision as well. So all three of these provisions, really taxpayer favorable, really helpful. Again, if you're financing that equipment that you're looking to purchase and place in service. So really advantageous. Just two other quick ones I want to touch on. One is the potential ability to expense new real property, which is real estate, if it is used for manufacturing or production. This is really aimed at increasing the United States manufacturing capacity. So you have a new building or even a repurposed building that went from a non-manufacturing use to a manufacturing use between 2025 and 2028 that you've purchased that's placed in service before the end of 2030, you may be able to write off the entire thing currently. Again, massive cash flow boon for a lot of taxpayers if you're able to take advantage of that. And so that, I think, is something everybody who's looking to expand their capacity should be considering. Lastly, Advanced Manufacturing Investment Credit, which we often call Section 48D. It's a federal tax credit that incentivizes the domestic manufacturing of semiconductors and semiconductor manufacturing equipment. That credit was at 25%. It's been boosted to 35% beginning in 2026. And this is really meant to strengthen the domestic supply chain for semiconductors and capital investment in high tech production. Right now, it's only available for that semiconductor area of investment. If you're in that space, a huge benefit again. So overall, the permanence of this trio, of the orphan provisions we talked about, having that stability and expectation, knowing how these investments will be treated over the long term for a tax purpose. And they have a lot of actually bipartisan support, so they're not particularly at risk in the future either. That's going to bring a lot of certainty and hopefully additional investment in the manufacturing industry going forward. We know that across the board, we're facing labor challenges across not just manufacturing, but that's a big portion. Investing in automation, new efficient technologies is a big answer to some of these larger problems that we're having. And this law incentivizes sort of those investments, those behaviors. So overall, really taxpayer favorable and hopefully a boon for the manufacturing industry.
Well, Kasey, thank you so much for unpacking that information for us. There's a lot of great insights, a lot of things for manufacturers to be able to really consider. As it sounds like there's a lot of movement in this bill to be able to help manufacturers make the investments they need to from U.S. domestic production and beyond. So these changes sound really promising for manufacturers. And thank you again for coming on Industrial Sage Headlines and kind of unpacking this for us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Reach out if you've got any questions and look forward to connecting again soon.